What is ecology? A boat drifts slowly in the Mississippi River. On deck, two ecologists attach a radio transmitter to a lake sturgeon. The transmitter will help them track the fish's movements and answer questions about what habitats it uses to feed, rest, and reproduce. An airplane swoops low over the cattails of a marsh. As the pilot keeps the plane a mere 30 meters off the ground, an ecologist seated next to him records the number of each kind of duck he sees. These counts will help the ecologist estimate whether duck numbers are increasing, decreasing, or remaining stable. Near Columbia, an ecologist watches a gray squirrel through her binoculars. She takes detailed notes about what the squirrel eats, where it moves, and when it's active. This data will help her learn how much gray squirrels compete with other kinds of mammals for food and resources. On a prairie near Joplin, an ecologist watches a wall of flame race up a hillside. He is studying how prairie plants respond to combinations of fire and grazing. In a few weeks, he'll move a herd of bison onto the hillside and monitor how the plants respond. Deep in the Ozarks, an ecologist maneuvers a cherry picker up into the forest canopy. Once there, she uses a device to measure the rate of photosynthesis occurring in the leaves of a white oak tree. This information will help her estimate how much carbon the forest removes from the Earth's atmosphere. We can learn much about ecology from these accounts. Although they go about it in different ways, each of these ecologists is trying to learn more about how nature works. To understand nature, ecologists study individual living things, groups of living things, or large landscapes. Ecologists make observations, ask questions, and collect data. Studying ecology helps answer questions important to the survival of all organisms, including humans. Ecology is the study of how nature works. Ecologists divide nature into two basic parts, living and non-living. The biotic, living part of nature is composed of plants, animals, fungi, protists, and bacteria, anything that is alive. The abiotic, non-living part is composed of physical and chemical components of the environment, including water, sunlight, temperature, and soil chemistry, as shown in Table 1.1. Water is an important abiotic part of a wetland. The amount of water, its depth, and how long it stays around influence the kinds of living things found in a wetland. Muskrats and cattails both need water to survive. If a wetland dries up, cattails in the wetland soon die, and muskrats leave the wetland to look for new homes. In turn, living things can influence properties of water. Muskrats use plants, such as cattails, for food and to build their houses. In doing so, muskrats remove patches of vegetation and create areas of open water. With less vegetation, to restrict airflow, more oxygen is mixed into the water when wind causes waves. Removing vegetation also removes shade, allowing sunlight to penetrate the water, increasing its temperature. From this example, we can learn a key theme of ecology. Any living thing is affected by and responds to both abiotic and biotic parts of its environment. Likewise, abiotic parts of the environment are affected by living things. Ecologists seek to understand these relationships. Ecologists study things as small as individual organisms or as large as the biosphere. The way ecologists study nature depends on how narrowly or broadly they focus their observations and experiments. At the narrow end, an ecologist might focus on a simple living thing. At the broad end, an ecologist might focus on the Earth as a whole. To accomplish their studies, ecologists organize nature into different levels of focus, shown in Figure 1.1 below. All matter, from a chunk of granite underfoot to a bird overhead, is composed of atoms. There are over 100 different kinds of atoms, such as carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Atoms combine with other atoms to form molecules. Water, carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids are molecules, important to living things. Molecules assemble together to form organelles, microscopic structures in a cell that perform specific functions. Mitochondria are organelles that generate energy for living things. Groups of organelles form cells. All living things are made of cells. Some, such as bacteria, consist of a single cell. Others, such as humans, consist of trillions of cells. Cells assemble together to form tissues. Muscle is a tissue composed of cells that have the ability to contract. Tissues assemble together to form organs. The heart is an organ composed of muscle, fat, and nervous tissue. Different organs working together form an organism. This is the point where ecologists become interested. Atoms to molecules to organelles to cells to tissues to organs to organisms.